Right, so are OFGEM actually stopping our energy bills coming down then? Well, what's this all about, Damo? Do tell. Well, as those of you who watch my content regularly will know, because I've been banging on about it for quite some time, wholesale gas prices have been falling steadily for months, despite our energy bills not having done so. It doesn't actually matter how you get your energy either, because the wholesale gas price dictates energy charges for the entire energy market. So it's a big fat stitch up there in and of itself. Supposedly in place to protect customers, the energy watchdog OFGEM has been more intent on protecting suppliers for some time. Their excuse for this being the collapse of the energy supply arm of the energy market. We saw some 29 energy companies collapse after all. But the market was never fair to begin with, because for those largest suppliers, they themselves are also the very energy producers and distributors who were selling to smaller retailers anyway, and they actually contributed to their demise with the rising prices. Now, from their perspective, elimination of competition, however small, might have been very good. But for us as consumers, it was another consequence of privatisation biting us on the backside, as all of our bills soared, and then, unable to shop around for a cheaper deal, we ended up victims of monopoly, essentially. Less choice, only bigger suppliers left. And they all seem to be intent on bleeding us dry for those record-breaking profits, and boy, did they damn well want those profits too, as British Gas have proven, breaking into homes and forcefully installing prepay meters, even in the homes of the most vulnerable, if you couldn't or wouldn't pay. Instead of a government cracking down on corporate greed, they encouraged this by giving them even more money in the form of energy bill relief for the most vulnerable to those increased charges. But OFGEM haven't helped us either. They've said nothing about the bill rises, and that's because OFGEM is actually relatively toothless. It is only a watchdog for energy supply. Energy production and distribution has no watchdog. So the suppliers can plead poverty to OFGEM. OFGEM accepts this because their profit margins are relatively tight. However, when many of these suppliers are also the same producers and distributors and are supplying themselves in many cases, they can engineer those tight margins somewhat whilst making those record-breaking multi-billion pound profits in production and distribution, and OFGEM can't say boo to a goose over that. Shell, of course, have just announced profits of £32 billion. In their case, some of that will be oil revenue too, of course. But given they are energy suppliers, why do they need to make such massive profits, and why can't they take some of the pain instead of watching it get inflicted on all of us instead? Well, the fact is they simply do not care, do they? It's nice that they've decided to pay tax on their UK revenues this year, though. It'll be the first time in 5 years they've done so, such as the toothlessness of this Tory government in making them pay their share. Anyway, so OFGEM are to all intents and purposes being made fools of by many of these energy companies. But in order to prevent any further collapses of energy supply companies who are not also producers and distributors, the likes of Octopus, for instance, OFGEM introduced a structure called the Market Stabilisation Charge, or MSC. And this is a compensation measure, essentially. Even though most of us haven't been switching energy suppliers because it has been pointless for some time to do so, all the prices relatively being the same, there was something in place to compensate some suppliers if customers did in fact switch. I'll give you an example. Say somebody switched from supplier A to supplier B, and supplier A had already bought gas at the stupidly high prices they've been recently. Suppliers buy energy months in advance, of course. Then supplier A would be compensated for losing that customer by supplier B. Effectively, it is yet one more reason as to why switching has been pointless, other than the energy companies not offering many attractive tariffs either for quite some time. But when they'd have to compensate other companies even more if the tariff they were to offer would be dramatically more attractive, there's no incentive to offer better tariffs right now either. And unfortunately, OFGEM's latest announcement means that's not likely to change anytime soon. Despite wholesale gas prices tumbling by nigh on 75 to 80%, they've decided to roll out the MSC indefinitely. It was supposed to be a temporary measure. Their excuse is that despite wholesale prices falling, the volatility in the market remains high. So to protect the market, not us, as the watchdog is supposed to do, they're going to keep the MSC in place. So what will this mean for us then? Competition between energy companies is still going to be basically non-existent when one offering a slightly better deal will have to compensate its rival for any customers lost to them. It disincentivizes better deals being offered because no energy company wants to cough up to another. But it also means the energy supply market will stagnate because despite lowering wholesale prices, who's going to be the first one to budge on price when it could cost them to do so? As wholesale prices fall, we are expecting the prices we pay to come down as well, as energy suppliers buy wholesale energy again at cheaper rates. But if they fear massive compensatory payouts for being the first to do so, what incentive have they to actually lower them? They would all make bigger profits at the supply end. They'd avoid compensatory MSC payouts to rivals. The Tories have already shown themselves too weak to admit energy privatisation is a massive con that has failed the people, and the people, the customers, are the ones that lose out most of all. Already, energy prices globally have tumbled below ours here. The UK has the highest energy bills on the planet right now because this useless Tory government still worships at the altar of Thatcher and her privatisation agenda, and OFGEM are on the side of the suppliers and not ours. Now, OFGEM might well have baked in higher retail bills for energy with all the societal damage that is doing, for all the lives that will be blighting. But as wholesale prices continue to plummet, that's going to come across as more and more unfair. Renationalise energy now. Give us back control of our energy market. Bin OFGEM and replace it with a watchdog with teeth across the entire energy market, because the energy price squeeze now looks set to continue for far longer than it damn well should.